So,
No, it is nice to come on early and hang out a little bit. That's perfect.
yes, indeed. And we also have the ability, if somebody has a question for you or something, they can we can live stream,
Oh,
get
sure.
that right on. And I don't know how to do all that, but Aaron's here, so we can.
Okay.
Real quick, now that I can get a word in.
Yeah.
My name is Russell Woods. I do Flag Coco. I cover Flag High and Coconino sports. I live in Phoenix. I deliver mail, and as soon as I'm done with this show, I gotta rip my shirt off. Or I got my uniform on, and I'm out the door.
Love it. Love it. That's cool.
That's that multitasking, man. Represent the U.S. mail. You okay? Yes, indeed. Everybody got their nice coffee cups and everything. I got the same one I've had.
I got my KNAU,
There you go. Represent for us there. That is good stuff. All right, so we got 30 seconds.
0.
All right, 30 seconds to showtime. In 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To the fifth quarter AZ. My name is Danny Neal, and I'll be your co-host for today. And as always, we have some exciting guests today. And one exciting guest, and just looking for a great day. But before I go any further, I want to introduce my partner in crime, my co-host today. My partner Tyrone Johnson is off still on his celebratory state championship tour, I guess, but that's all right because we have the man that knows everything about high school sports in Flagstaff, the man with a plethora of information. My guy, Mr. Russell Woods. Good morning, Russell. How you doing, man?
Good morning, Coach. It's always great to see you up and about.
Hey, yeah, man. It's always good to be up and about. So how you doing, man? How's things going with you?
It's starting to heat up here in Phoenix, and that means my little mail truck is starting to heat up, and it's nice. It's gonna be 90 degrees this weekend, and way too soon it's gonna be 100, 110, 115. So add about 15 degrees to that, and that's how hot it's gonna be in my truck in about a month.
You don't have one of those little fans sitting
I
on
got a
your
little fan, like about this big, and that's all I got.
That's your air conditioning.
And crack the window, yeah.
Hey, don't need to crack the window. That doesn't help. I'm telling you, that doesn't help.
I drink my water and I say my prayers.
Hey, you're doing the right thing, man. You're on the right course there. So good, man. So as I mentioned in the opening, you're the man with a plethora of information. You know everything that's happened in Flagstaff sports this week. So fill us in on what's going on and what's happened.
Well, first things first, Flag High Baseball's assistant coach, Josh Hughes, he had his operation this week, heart transplant, and he's doing much better. And he's alert and he's awake, and things are progressing along just fine.
Prayers to the family.
Prayers to the family. Everyone's been giving prayers. It looks like they're working just fantastic.
And he does have a GoFundMe page, right?
He has a GoFundMe page, and I've posted it a couple times on Flag Coco's Facebook and Twitter. So if you want to contribute to that, the family's got to stay in the Valley for a few months because he's going to be at the Mayo Clinic. Yeah, every little bit's going to help the family this time around.
Good. Yeah, and speaking of baseball, they get out on their field this week.
Oh yeah, everybody's finally got their first home game. Less than 3 weeks left in the season. They're just now playing their home games.
Wow.
Flag High softball, they crushed Lee Williams on Wednesday, 12-1. Coconino softball, 10-1 against Mingus. Baseball for the Panthers, they played a great pitching duel on Wednesday against Mingus, won 3-2. Josh Klaus pitched a complete game. Flag Eye baseball, they got a couple games in a week ago, and all these games, every team is just crushing it now that they're starting to get into the region, and like I said, they're playing at home now, so it's they're all looking good.
That's good. That's good. I mean, Flag High after playing dome ball for so long,
They got to practice somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. So, kudos to all the Flag High, Coconino, MPA, everybody who's had to deal with the weather conditions and still be successful. So we have to tip our hat off to them. They're all doing really, really well.
Yeah, I want to give a heads up too. Coconino baseball, they're going to have their annual game at Chase Field next week. That's on April 12th. Start is going to be between 3 and 4 because it's happening right after a Diamondbacks game. So if you get there about 3:15, you should be fine for it's the whole stadium's open and it's free. If you just want to, for once, just go to Chase Field and walk around for free, this is a great time to do it.
So there's no admissions to get into the game?
No, this is all taken care of.
That's all right. That's pretty cool. Did you pay that?
I've gone to this game most years for about a decade, and it's always fun. A lot of parents come down. This year they're playing Lee Williams. So it's not like last year when both Flag High and Coconino played in this game. That was a great game to go to, and that came down to the 7th inning. That was a great game.
Oh, wow. So has anyone come close to knocking it out of Chase Field yet in high school, out of the Coconino Flag High?
May have in the last couple of years, but I remember Travis Walters did it.
Really?
Yeah.
I know Travis really well.
I'm sorry, it wasn't Travis. It was his brother Tyler.
Okay.
But yeah, he knocked it right down the left field line, and yeah, it's happened.
That's good. That's all right. Well, good, and that's got to be exciting for those kids to be able to play in that atmosphere on a field like that. So it's always a great experience and gives them something to look forward to if that's what they aspire to do.
Exactly. There's going to be a handful that go to college, and who knows where they go after that. And in Arizona, Chase Field is our field of dreams.
Exactly. So in cross country, I know we're going to be talking running today, and I know how successful our cross country programs have been. Have we heard anything on them?
What, on
the cross country
track and field?
Yes.
I know, like, Mia Hall she works it in, but she's not there for every single competition, but she'll be there for the state championships.
Gotcha.
One girl for Coconino, Darkenia Genkaral, is doing well in the shot put. Look forward to her going to state and then maybe going elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to give one more shout out before we get going.
Okay.
I want to give a shout out to the Coconuts, to Coconino's robotics team. They're at Monterey Bay this weekend, and they won the Impact Award, and they're going to be heading to the World Championships in Houston in a couple of weeks. And I remember last year, everybody was rallying around the Coconuts and rooting them on. There was a big rooter bus, and kind of like when Tyrone and your girls get on the bus and they go down to Phoenix for the state championship, and everybody's at the school cheering them on. I like seeing that for the robotics team too.
Right. That's good stuff, man. And they've been doing well for a while. So
yes.
So they just need to keep doing it, and they've been very successful.
They're one of the best in the country. They're very consistent. They always go to the championships, and And good luck.
Right. We definitely want to wish them good luck. And we also want to remind everybody out there that we do have the capability for live questions. So if you have questions for myself, Russell, our guest, anybody, please get right in. Ask your questions. We'll get them on the air. And please, if you like what you see, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Let us know what you're thinking and what we can do better. If there's something that you want to get out there, a fundraiser or something, please hit us up. We'll get it out there for you and get everything going. So, just want everybody to know that this is a community thing. We want to do what we can to represent the community. I also want to thank my good friend Thad Reagan on getting the principal's job at Coconino. Yes. With Stacy Azuki stepping down, who's done such a great job, and retiring, and that's well deserved for her too. So Coconino is staying strong, and we like that. So,
amen.
All right. Hey, well, let's just move right along, man, because we got a special guest. And I think every week so far, I've said this is an opportunity for me to get smarter. And because our guests have been so awesome, people I did not personally know, who have now just become part of this show, part of my life. And today is definitely no different. So without further ado, we want to bring out Mr. Ben Rosario. This man has so many job duties, titles, names, awards, but he's with Northern Arizona Elite. So without further ado, let's bring out Ben. Good morning, Ben. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, love to have you here, and just found out that we're neighbors.
That's right. We're Cheshire buddies.
That's right. That's right. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, about the NAZ Elite program.
Sure. So my wife and I and our daughter moved here to Flagstaff in 2012. I had owned some running stores in St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I grew up. And when we moved here, we got ingratiated with the running community. I got to know some of the local professional runners. I was doing some marketing for McMillan Running Company. Greg McMillan was based here in Flagstaff at that time and had a group that was a professional group sponsored by Adidas. I was mostly helping him with his online coaching on the marketing side. But then his group dissolved at the end of 2013. And so there was a bit of a void in terms of a professional running group here in Flagstaff at that time. And so my wife and I sort of decided at that point to make that our next adventure. And we launched Northern Arizona Elite in January of 2014 with the goal of being one of the best professional running groups in the country. And we got off to a great start that first year. We won a couple of national titles. Our athletes ran some really fast times. We had 9 total athletes at that point. And we were pitching the group to sponsors. And 1 year later, in February of 2015, Hoka running shoes came on as our title sponsor, and we've been with them ever since. And we've grown with them, and our contract has grown, and we've added athletes, and we've continued to perform at a higher and higher level. And now, as we sit here today, we have 18 total athletes. We've been to the Olympic Games. We've won 17 national titles. We've won 98 races. We've raced all over the globe, and we have athletes from New Zealand and Kenya and Great Britain and of course the US, and they all live here in Flagstaff, and that's where we're based, and we're a Flagstaff group, and we're proud to be that, and we're excited for the future. So that's the nutshell version of Hoka NAZ Elite.
Well, I think we see a lot of these guys running. We know that they're professional runners, just the way they run, the way they're dressed, and they're just running and laughing and talking. I can't do that.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool.
Right. So to now understand where this group comes from, it's pretty amazing to me. Pretty amazing, and the accomplishments that you guys have.
Yeah, I mean, they have really bought into our system. And look, there's been changes in the roster over the years. But then again, we have some people that have been with us since the very beginning. Stephanie Bruce, Ben Bruce, Kellen Taylor. They've been with us since the group started in January of 2014. And wow. Steph has been 6th at the Olympic trials, and Kellen's been 4th at the Olympic trials. And we've had a lot of success with people who have really believed in Flagstaff and stuck around. And there's a lot of highs and lows in running, just like any sport, but we're really proud of the fact that we've been able to grow and grow and grow. And now, like I said, we really are one of the top professional teams in the whole country, and looking to put multiple Olympians in Paris in just over a year and a half.
Russell?
Yeah. What makes Flagstaff so attractive for long distance runners? We were successful in this town on every level. We've got high school champions, collegiate champions, champions through NAZ Elite. But what makes Flagstaff so special? I mean, I know that 7,000 feet, everyone talks about the altitude and the cleaner air, but you find that in Colorado and Idaho and some other places in the West. But what's so special about Flagstaff?
Yeah, a couple of things. So no doubt, first and foremost, it's the altitude. From a purely scientific standpoint, between 7,000 and 8,000 feet is the ideal altitude for building the maximum level of extra red blood cells. So the body is pretty darn smart. And so when it's at altitude and there's lower pressure, it realizes that in order to deliver oxygen to the muscles in the most efficient way possible, it needs to create extra red blood cells. So you live up here and you train up here, and then you go down to race at sea level, you're at an advantage over your competitors because you're able to, while you're running really hard, again, deliver oxygen to your muscles in a more efficient manner than those who are training at sea level. So from a purely scientific standpoint, that's the reason. But as you say, there's other high altitude towns in this country and all over the world, and yet Flagstaff has become this mecca. Well, I think part of it is the community. So it's a smallish town, but it's not so small that there's nothing to do. Right. It's a town that understands distance running and understands professional distance running and supports it. And actually, I have a little plug later for a community event that we're going to do to watch the Boston Marathon together. And like we were talking before the show started, you see pro runners running around town, of course, but you also see the average Joe. And there's a fantastic group called Team Run Flagstaff that meets every Tuesday night at the Cocoa High School track, and almost 100 people strong all summer running repeats around the track. And we've got, as you mentioned, the Northern Arizona University team winning national titles. And so all those things snowball into this amazing place to live, train, and be happy, because you have to be happy as a professional athlete outside of running. And so I think all those things are what makes this place so special.
Yeah, we've had we've had Trina Painter, we've had Cookie Taylor. I always imagine you as coaches have your own community, your own, I wouldn't say clique because that sounds like it's too inclusive, but I always imagine that you have interaction with the other coaches. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct. Trina and I go back a long ways. I spoke at Trina's Flagstaff High School cross country camp this summer, talked to the group about having a champion's mindset, and we really enjoy being involved at that level, speaking on behalf of NAZ Elite. And yeah, of course, I know Trina, I know Mike Smith at NAU, I know Stephen Haas, who coaches another professional team here in Flagstaff, sponsored by Under Armour. And we all get along, and it is a cool community because you can kind of speak each other's language.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about all the positive things about training in Flagstaff, but how do you train when you got 6 feet of snow?
It was a challenging winter. It was a challenging winter. That's the words we would use. No, we do have some other advantages, and of course I could go on and on about that list, but one of the things that's an advantage about Flagstaff over other altitude-based towns is that you can get out of the altitude really easily, or to your question, you can get out of the snow really easily. So we went down to Camp Verde quite a bit this winter, and we trained down there where it's A, lower, but B, warmer and drier. So we were able to get out of the weather. We can actually go east as well. I don't know if you guys are aware of this or the listeners are aware of this, but if you take Highway 40 east, you only have to go about 25 minutes or so before you hit the snow line essentially. And so there's some dirt roads out that way. Winona, and then Twin Arrows, where the casino is, has a dirt road. And then about 10 minutes past that is a exit called Buffalo Range Road. And you can run on the dirt out there, and it's dry. Even those crazy snowstorms, we got 40 inches of snow. Buffalo Range Road was runnable, and it only took us about 40 minutes to get there. So there's some commitment you have to make to spending the time to drive out there and drive back. But these are professional athletes, and that's what we have to do, because we can't risk injury running on the snow and ice. We have to be careful, and we just did what we had to do.
And I think that's the beauty of Flagstaff in Northern Arizona. There's so many trails. There's so many different places you can go run in the area. And I'm sure the scenic view has a lot to do with it, to be able to run in a town like this, and just how beautiful it is, which is me saying a lot, being born and raised here in Flagstaff. And I used to always hear about how beautiful Flagstaff is, and I'm like, Flagstaff, yeah. And as I've got older, I'm like, oh, I see what they're talking about. Yeah, I see things. So I know that has a lot to do with it. But on an average day, how many miles does one of your runners run?
They probably run between 10 and 15 miles a day. So oftentimes that'll be broken up into two different runs. So maybe 8 to 10 miles in the morning and 4 to 6 miles in the afternoon. And over the course of the week, that ends up adding to about 100 miles a week. That's pretty standard. Some do less, some do more, but that's pretty standard for these pro athletes.
You put in more miles than I'm putting on my car in a week. So
it's a lot of running. It's a lot of running, but it's, as you compare it to other professional sports, it's the same amount of time overall, because they're doing a couple of workouts a day, and then during the middle of the day, there's a lot they have to do as well. I think there's perhaps a misconception that, they run and then they go to bed or they watch TV. Well, they run and then they have to get their protein shake, and then they have to take a nap, and then they have to go get a massage, and they have to lift weights, and then they have to go run again. So it's a pretty full day every day taking care of their bodies. There's a lot of wear and tear on the body that happens when you're running 100 miles a week. And so there's a huge emphasis on making sure that your muscles and tendons and ligaments are being taken care of, and that you're getting enough sleep, and that you're eating right, and all those things go into performing at the highest level.
Do any of these athletes hold side jobs, like work at Burger King or whatever, just to get away from that?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question. When we started the group, it was sort of a different level of athlete, and a lot of them did have side jobs just to make ends meet.
Right.
Now we're at a point, fortunately, where all of the athletes on our team get paid by HOKA, and it's a salary or a base compensation level that's enough to live on, even in Flagstaff. However, it's a spectrum. Just like the New York Yankees, the backup shortstop doesn't get paid as much as the starting shortstop. These are just the realities of the business of sports. And so there are athletes on the team that do some online coaching on the side to make extra money, or various odd jobs to make extra money. And then there's some who don't need to make extra money, but they just choose to do side projects just to keep them sane, and just so their life doesn't revolve completely around running. And I think that's important, because again, whether you're playing on the Yankees, whether you're a pro golfer, whether you're a pro runner, you can't have your sport envelop your whole life and attach your self-worth to it. You have to have other things going on. I think that's really important.
Exactly.
Yeah, you mentioned some of your athletes in the opening. One of them is Aliphine Tuliamuk. She holds the distinction of winning the 2020 Olympic trials. What made her such a special runner?
There's a lot of things that make Aliphine special as a runner and as a human being, but one of which, I suppose, first and foremost, is her talent level. Of course, you have to be massively talented to compete at this level and go to the Olympic Games. And she showed her talent really early on. I know you guys talk a lot of high school sports, so this is pretty relevant. When she was 15 years old, so in high school in Kenya, where she was born and raised, she made the world junior cross country team for the nation of Kenya, which is I think objectively the best distance running nation in the world. and she finished 9th place at the World Junior Championships as a 15-year-old, and that's 19 and under athletes from all over the world. So very, very talented. But then she's incredibly driven. So at 18 years old, she chose to come to the United States, sight unseen, never been here. Nobody in her family had ever been here, to get an education. Not to run. She could have stayed in Kenya if all she cared about was running. She wanted to get an education, and she went to first Iowa State, then transferred to Wichita State because they had the major she was more interested in. She eventually wants to become a nurse and give back and take care of people, which is incredibly awesome. So her talent, her drive, and her ability to, no matter what's going on, be self-confident. Because like I said, there's highs and lows, there's sicknesses, there's injuries, and she's had all of those things. And in fact, she had a child between winning the Olympic trials and going to the Olympic Games. And she was patient and confident in her postpartum comeback. And now she's fully back to her normal self, to her 100% self physically. And she's running the Boston Marathon on April 17th, just over a week away from now, and is going to do fantastic. I really believe that.
And you have something going on with the Boston Marathon, don't you?
Yeah, I mentioned it just briefly a second ago. So one of the things that we're really keen to do here is be involved in the community. I've coached the Mount Eldon Middle School cross country team. I've run a program at Sechrist called Kids on the Run. I helped Vince Sherry from Run Flagstaff with the regional cross country meet for the middle school kids. And, we're really proud of all those things. And one of the things we're going to do here on Monday, April 17th, is work with Coconino Community College to co-host a Boston Marathon watch party. So the race is on the East Coast, of course. So the start time for Aliphine's race, for the pro women's race, is 6:37 a.m. Here in Flagstaff. And so the doors will open at Coco Community College at 6:15 a.m. We've got prizes, we've got raffles, we've got giveaways, we've got coffee and pastries, and they're going to put it up on the big screen in their atrium, and we're going to watch together. So pros, non-pros, regular folks, runners, non-runners, this is the place to watch the Boston Marathon. We think Aliphine's going to do really well. We think Sarah Hall, who lives here in Flagstaff, not on our team, but she's very, very good runner. She'll be there running. A bunch of the, just again, regular folks that are here in Flagstaff will be running. Ray Langlis, who's the assistant coach at Coco College, will be running, and we'll be cheering for all those folks together.
That's right.
And then anybody who wants to will go for a little jog after the race. But yeah, we would love everybody to come down to that. It's totally free, of course, at Coco Community College, April 17th.
Well, that's pretty good. That's exciting. And just knowing that there's so many runners from Flagstaff that will be actually running in the Boston Marathon is that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. So how many running groups are there in Flagstaff? You said there were a couple others.
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a couple of pro groups, like I said. So there's the Northern Arizona Elite Group, our group here that's sponsored by Hoka. There's a group called the Dark Sky Distance Program, which is sponsored by Under Armour. There's a group of athletes that are affiliated with the Run Flagstaff running store, and Run Flagstaff sort of sponsors them, and they do a great job. So those are sort of the established groups. There's another one called the Verde Valley Track Club, coached by John Green. He works with Molly Seidel, who finished third at the Olympic Games in the marathon. Molly lives and trains here. And then there's a number of groups that come and go that are maybe based elsewhere, but come here to train for blocks at a time to get the altitude benefit. There's a group from New Balance in Boston that comes here. There's groups from Portland sponsored by Nike that come here. And then there's groups, believe it or not, from all over the world. So there's groups from the UK and from Australia and from Canada and from the Netherlands, and I could go on and on. I don't even know everybody, honestly, that comes in. It's too much to handle. But they come here because of all the things we mentioned at the top of this interview: the altitude, the community, the ability to go down and train at lower levels and then sleep up here and get the benefits of the altitude. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
And the funny part is, this didn't just start because there was a runner, Jim Ryan, years and years ago, who was the first one to break the 6-minute mile or something he did.
4-minute mile.
4-minute mile. But he used to train here back in the late 60s, And we used to get on our bikes and ride behind him over on the south side. He was over at NAU running and everything. And everybody knew Jim Ryan. And like I said, this was in the 60s. I'm aging myself, but y'all know I'm old. And we used to ride behind him on our bikes, and it was hard to keep up with him then. And so, yeah, people have been coming to Flagstaff for a long, long time. This didn't just start.
That's amazing. So that's really cool. So I'm going to put you in touch with an athlete on our team named Matt Baxter, who wrote a book called, I think it's up in the, I don't want to mess up the name. It's about the NAU, the Northern Arizona University cross country dynasty. And it goes all the way back to then. And yeah, Jim Ryan and a guy named George Young came here because, as you guys probably know, the Olympics in 1968 were going to be in Mexico City.
Right.
And so they were going to have the Olympic trials in Lake Tahoe at altitude. So Jim and George, who were buddies, sort of scoped out the United States and different places they could train, and they picked Flagstaff to get ready for Lake Tahoe and to get ready for Mexico City. And that is where it all started. And then a guy named Ron Mann, who eventually was a Flagstaff guy, who eventually became the coach at NAU, really figured out altitude, really figured out how to train here, built the NAU dynasty. And of course, it's continued on down the line. And now, you know, they're winning national titles regularly on the men's side in cross country. But Matt wrote a book about all of that and the whole history of it. So he would love to talk to you guys. But it's an amazing story that does date all the way back to the 60s.
Yes, indeed. So that was fun times back then, you know. So that's good. That's good. So Russell, anything else? I know you always have questions.
I can keep going. Yeah, you mentioned Aliphine coming from Kenya, and I mentioned in the opening Mia Hall, who was born in Ethiopia. Just how international is the Flagstaff running community? I mean, I know NAU has runners from New Zealand, and I'm sure CCC's recruiting from all over the country. Just how big is the international community in Flagstaff?
Yeah, there's a lot of examples I could give you. I'll give you one outside of running. So again, we talked about the benefits of altitude for endurance sports. The Japanese swim team, this is a few years ago. I can't remember which Olympic cycle it was. Might have been 16, might have been 12. They spent over 200 days in Flagstaff out of the 365 leading up to that Olympic Games because of the pool up here at 7,000 feet. It's one of the best pools at this altitude in the whole world. I'll give you another example. These are outside the box examples. There was an Australian rules football team that came here to do their base camp and train here to get ready for their season. Some of the best triathletes in the world have come here to train. Chelsea Sodaro, who just won the Kona Ironman, she has trained in Flagstaff. So the scope of the type of endurance athlete that comes here to train is so vast. I need to do this. I want to go to the city government. We need to build a sign that as you come into town from maybe Highway 17 or maybe 40, that says Flagstaff, Arizona, where the world's best endurance athletes come to train, because that really is true. And there's a poster every Olympic cycle that the folks at Hypo 2 make. So Hypo 2 is a high altitude training center that is owned by a guy named Sean Anthony. He used to work with Jack Daniels when there was a USOC funded training center out of NAU. Now it's Sean's sort of, he does it on the private side, and it's called Hypo 2, but they make a poster every Olympic cycle with all the athletes that went to the Olympic Games that came through Flagstaff during their training cycle, and every country that's represented. And I mean, it's dozens. It's crazy how many people come here from all over the world.
And I would like to see that. And that was when I was talking about in the neighborhood, people talking about the runners in the country and in the city. And one of my neighbors, one of our neighbors, mentioned the fact that in the Olympics this year, people from Flagstaff won like 27 medals or something like that. People living here in Flagstaff won more medals than some countries did.
Yeah, I think certainly if you count people that came through, you know, and trained here, I think the number was very high, and it's getting more and more known, I think, within the community, and I'm talking about the larger community, not just the running community here in Flagstaff, maybe as evidenced by me being on your show. But the fact is, we should be really proud as a city. And I say we because
Yes.
I've been here a long time now, and it's a wonderful community. And I hope and I think that people are really proud of this aspect of Flagstaff.
Yes, I think it is Flagstaff. That's who we are. We may not all run, but Flagstaff is a running community.
That's
so,
right.
Well, we have come to that part in the show where we asked for some advice, a word to send back out to the youth, and it's known as our Golden Nugget Question of the Week. So, Russell, can you please give Ben your Golden Nugget Question of the Week?
You used to put me on the spot with this, but now I'm getting used to it, so I actually write.
I know it.
We talk about Flagstaff being such a runner community. And I follow the high school teams. What would you like to say to the kids going Flag High, Coconino, Northland Prep, out on the reservation? That basis, all over northern Arizona. What do you say to them as they're looking towards college, or maybe not pursuing running as a career, but as a pastime, and maybe run a marathon somewhere down the road? What do you want to say to those kids who are thinking about making this part of their lives, not just now as teenagers, but for the next 10, 20 years?
Oh, that's fantastic. It's a great question. And it's more than 10 or 20 years. It's their whole life. Running can be a lifetime pursuit. And I would encourage them when they go on to college. First of all, I'll say to the kids who want to keep running in college, no matter what their level, no matter if they're the best kid on the team or one of the slower kids on the team, they can run in college. There's all different levels. There's Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, and within each of those divisions are all sorts of levels of teams. There's teams like NAU that win national titles, and then there's teams that are at a very, very different level and welcome everyone to come on the team. And there's almost no standards except try hard and do your best. And so if they want to keep running competitively, they can. However, to everyone, even if you aren't interested in competing in college, you can keep running. It's a wonderful way to stay fit, stay healthy, keep your mind sharp, keep your body in a place that is going to allow you to live a long, healthy life. And then there's races that you can enter in whatever town you go to, in whatever city you end up in college and beyond. And the best people I've met in my life are people I've met through the running community. And I'm talking about all ability levels, all walks of life. And so I would just say, keep running.
And it's one of the cheapest sports.
You just get a pair of Hokas and head out the
door. Well, Ben, once again, thank you so much for being on the show. I definitely got smarter. I mean, we even talked about red blood cells and oxygen levels and all. So, yeah, man, I really got smarter today. So, once again, man, I just want to thank you. Definitely want to stay in touch with you. If there's anything that you got going on, you want to put out there, fifth quarter is a home for you to get that done here, man. And
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'll see you in the neighborhood. We'll make sure we wave. You'll be running, I'll be driving. We'll wait. So, man, appreciate you. Russell, any parting words, Ben?
It was a pleasure meeting you today, Ben. I could have talked for another half hour with you,
right.
but some of us have to work actual jobs. I know Danny is retired with his own full schedule, and you've got your business. But I got a mail truck to go drive around Phoenix for the next 6 hours. So
hey,
I gotta get going.
All right. Well, Ben, we appreciate you, man. And once again, thank you for coming on and doing some great things, man. Doing some great things. And we'll look at you to come talk to some of our girls sometime just about what it takes to get to where you're at, or just to enjoy the sport or maybe get an education out of it. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. All right, Russell. Been a good show. Working hard, getting things done.
Every show I do with you is fun. I love doing this. And I know Tyrone's got his own things to do, and sometimes I sub for you, but I always like pitching in and being part of this.
Well, and you're always there, and we got this threesome that's working really well together, man. And you do so much for the show behind the scenes that people don't know. So I want to thank you for that. And with that, man, we know what you got to do. Everybody else, everybody else, you ain't
every
gotta
day
go
the rest of
home,
my
but
life.
that's it. You ain't gotta go home, but
you can't stay here.
You can't stay here. Peace.